I, 24 male, was about to get married when fiance's friend, 25 female, dropped a bombshell that turned my whole world upside down. About a month ago, an old friend of my fiancé came and told me my daughter might not be mine, 1 year. She told me Sarah, fiancé, fake name, confessed to her shortly after finding out she was pregnant that it might not be mine because at the time she had been sleeping with one other guy. Now that we are going to get married soon, she just couldn't keep this to herself and felt the need to tell me. Well, I obviously didn't take the news well because everything she said contradicted the person I knew for 5 years, faithful, honest and loving. However, that doubt didn't go away and I ended up going through with a paternity test. I'm not her father, as you can imagine has broken my heart. I'm still coming to terms with the news. It explains why she suddenly got pregnant, despite the protection I was using, but I just assumed things happen and it is what it is. Termination was out of the question. At this point, I'm not sure where to go in life. The wedding is 2 weeks away at this point, family is coming, everything is paid for, my daughter, who I love, turns out isn't mine at all and I've been raising someone else's kid. I'm about to marry a woman who I can't bring myself to look at anymore. I'm at a loss. I'm not sure what advice Reddit can offer, but I don't know who else to turn to. TL.DR. I found out my daughter isn't mine and I'm soon to wed my fiancé. Edit. Thank you for all the advice, good and bad. Different perspectives offer some insight as to what I can do, even the ones that didn't help pointed out what I shouldn't do. All I know is, I have loved this woman and her family. The last thing I want is a nuclear option. There's a lot to consider. I have 2 weeks at this point to decide what I want to do. I'm heartbroken. I don't want to necessarily think with my emotions alone, rather think this through as I make another of my large life choices. I am currently waiting on the results of a second paternity test just to confirm the results of the first one before I make any kind of jump. If you still have any additional advice to offer away. I'm still catching up on messages, there's so many and I'm taking my time to reflect on each one. Wife, 36 female, of 9 years, together 19 years, cheated multiple times with work colleague. Here's my story. Should I tell AP's spouse? Summary. This is a very long post but contains details of how I found out, what I did to gather evidence and piece together the story/timeline, how I confronted her, where we are now, 2 months post D-Day, and then provides some advice that I wish someone had told me 12 months ago, and finally poses a question and a request for advice. I hope in some way this post might help others who are going through what I am going through, and I'd appreciate advice from the same cohort on my question, should I tell the partner/spouse of the affair partner? Writing this has helped me process some of my thoughts, so thank you to anyone that listens. Big love to anyone going through this. On 6th April, I, 37 male, found out my wife, 36 female, of 9 years, who I've been with for 19 years, has been cheating on me. We have 2 young children, successful careers, great friends and family, a lovely house, generally an amazing life, with little to complain about. How I found out. On 1st of April 2020, I found suspicious text messages from a work colleague when I was looking through my wife's phone for the phone number of our daughter's piano teacher. There were only a few messages. It was clear previous parts of the conversation had been deleted, but those I read included, from him, we should meet up and have sex, and, from her, in response to his, I fancy KFC. What? Kissing, effing and queuing all over me? The messages sent me into a bit of a spin, but I thought/hoped at the time there was a small chance that this was at best banter and at worst sexting. This turned out to be wishful thinking. I looked for advice on the internet, various websites and Reddit, about what to do. The consensus, and I think the best advice, was not to jump to any conclusions and not to confront without sufficient evidence. Over the next few days, I struggled to get hold of her phone as I was distracted trying to work a full-time job and look after our children during lockdown. She also has a full-time job and couldn't cover much of the childcare this week, so I was, ironically, trying my best to support her through a tough time. I looked up the guy and found him on LinkedIn. How I realized he was a work colleague of hers, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. At this point I didn't really know the extent of the cheating or relationship. On the Sunday night, 5th April, after a terrible night's sleep worrying about it, I got up early, 3 a.m., and took her phone. I searched through all text/WhatsApp/Facebook messages, emails and photos to find additional evidence. Most text messages had been deleted, but I found screenshots and saved photos from months before that indicated the type of conversation, sexting, and one time/date when they'd met. There was a screenshot of a Google map from X location to our house. On its own this wouldn't have meant anything, but the next photo, timestamped 30 minutes later, at 8:30 p.m., was of the interior of a car, sat at a recognizable public location about 5 minutes walk from our house. I checked the time/date of the photo against my diary. It was from July 2019, and knew I was home. This meant she had to have gone out to meet someone. I didn't know for sure at the time it was the AP, but knew she'd never told me she was meeting anyone, so assumed it wasn't innocent. This picture provided evidence that the relationship was not just sexting, even though no evidence of physically doing anything, and set the timeline, up to 10 months, meaning I had to look back that far. I also found a picture of a man in a bath, modesty covered, but no way of telling who it was. This indicated there were also pictures being sent but no evidence she'd sent anything. I struggled at this stage to piece anything else together until I searched the AP's social media back 12 months, and realized that he had been away for work the same time as my wife, twice, in the same location, a major city in the US, in June 2019 and February 2020. This obviously rang alarm bells, but I still had no real evidence. This was it. I didn't have anything else. Whilst everything pointed towards a full-blown affair, I had no real evidence and couldn't work out where else to look. However, I ran out of time as I couldn't hide my anger from her anymore. So, on 6th April, I confronted her. The reveal. This section contains a lot of arguably superfluous detail, but I've included it as it shows the challenge I had in getting the truth. I assume many people will be in the same position, but I'm certainly glad I was able to get the full truth, as far as I'm aware. Without this, I don't think we would have moved forwards as we have. I actually started questioning her about another guy who she'd had messages from and had deleted previous conversations. Without going into detail, this turned out to be innocent. I did this to try to get her comfortable with the discussion and avoid her getting too defensive early on. Once we'd covered this topic, I asked the question, "Who is AP name?" I could tell from her immediate reaction that it took her by surprise and she was uncomfortable. She tried to pass it off as innocent texts, then accepted it was inappropriate texting, not sexting, and only banter. I asked what had happened in US City, in June. She immediately denied anything had happened. I had no evidence but tried to indicate I knew what happened. This took some time and she slowly started releasing little bits of information. We were just chatting at the bar, we were on our own, someone said we looked like a couple, nothing happened. We stopped making progress here, so I asked about him coming over to see her, location close to our house, which she denied. I told her I knew and it was best if she told the truth, but we went round in circles for a bit until I told her about the photos of the map and car. This led to more information being released. We just spoke about what had happened in US City, even though she was maintaining nothing happened, it just didn't make sense. I still didn't have any real evidence, so went back to questioning about what happened in the US City, maintaining that I knew but I wanted to hear it from her, and started getting additional information. The next section has her comments in speech marks, mine in brackets, as best I remember the conversation. Okay, we kissed at the elevator. It doesn't make sense it stopped there. What happened after? Nothing. You must have gone to one of your rooms. Okay, we did go to my room. I knew you did, so what happened? Nothing, we just talked. That doesn't make sense, you'd already kissed, so you must have kissed again. I already know what happened, so you need to tell me. Yes, we did kiss. Then what? Nothing. Again. It doesn't make sense, you had the perfect opportunity to do something. I know. No, nothing else. I know you slept together. No, we didn't. Okay, so what did you do? We just touched each other, but kept our clothes on. That doesn't make sense. This continues until she eventually admitted to sleeping with him in the hotel, second visit to US in February, and after similar questioning and scrutinizing of timeline/story, and maintaining that I already know more info, that they'd had slept together 4 times, twice in his car, straight after work, once in his house, during lunch break, once when away on work in the US city. Initial reaction. Whilst I wasn't naive enough to think nothing was going on, the revelation broke me. It made me question everything about our relationship, the history, past memories, our children. Everything seems to be a lie, and I lost all self-confidence. I've never cried so much, for so long. I basically lost days in the early stages. I couldn't work, I struggled to look after the kids as I was so angry/upset. My friends noticed something was wrong. We have children, so I tried to do what's right for them and stayed. Things were made more difficult by the lockdown, meaning I wasn't free to leave and return, etc. I also still loved my wife, even though I hated her for what she had done, still do. Having read numerous accounts of couples who have survived infidelity, I wanted to do everything I could to make it work. I wanted to believe we could get through it and didn't want to throw away everything we'd worked so hard to achieve. Over the next few weeks, we talked almost daily about what had happened and why. We spoke about what had driven her to do what she did, and she accepted complete responsibility for it. I struggled at times as I didn't always feel she was being honest, as I'd had to squeeze the truth out of her, but she assured me I know everything. As much as I was destroyed by the situation, she is also distraught. She is clearly upset about what she's done to me, what she's done to our relationship, how stupid she'd been, etc. Current situation. We are still working on things. Some days are fine, others I go down a dark tunnel and struggle to think straight and function normally. This is particularly strange, as I've always felt in control of life, but this has felt like a proverbial grenade going off in the middle of everything. It's clouded my ability to enjoy things I used to enjoy, and I continue to question everything. I don't trust my wife. Every time she picks up her phone I assume she's talking to another guy. Since D-Day she has showed me all messages that have come in from any guy I don't know. I know this because I still snoop whenever I get the chance. I'm not proud that I'm constantly looking through her phone. I don't even know what I'm looking for, but I just have no confidence. When she leaves the house, we're still largely under lockdown. I get worried she's going to meet someone, even though I know that's not that case, i.e., she's going to her parents. Things are getting easier though. With time, the emotions get more manageable, and she is able to demonstrate how important I am to her and how important our relationship is. We've both read a lot of articles about infidelity and listened to a lot of podcasts to find reason/meaning and to find a route through. We agree that we're not trying to fix our previous relationship, that is permanently damaged, or even destroyed, which is really sad, but we're trying to build something new, something stronger. I trust her feelings for me, and I trust she wants to make it better. I haven't told anyone what's happened. Part of me wants to tell close friends, but I don't want them to judge my wife. We're all friends. We've spoken about counseling and think we'll arrange this in the coming weeks/months. Why did it happen, and how could it have been prevented? My wife suffers from anxiety, she is on medication, low self-esteem and low self-confidence. There is obviously no excuse for the behavior, but this is one of the reasons it happened. She found acceptance, someone who desired her, external to our relationship. It was, in her eyes, someone who wouldn't judge her, and, even if he did, she didn't care what he thought. The guy is nothing like me physically. I work hard to stay in shape and am tall and athletic, he is short and obese. If this situation has taught me anything, it's that looks don't necessarily count for anything when it comes to infidelity. Nor logic. We had issues in our relationship, nothing we considered too serious, but mainly relating to not giving each other enough quality time. We have always been very busy with our work, children, and I have a good group of friends that I socialize/golf/talk rubbish on WhatsApp group with, on reflection too much. I wish I'd known more about the dangers of infidelity and the reality that it is quite common. I had never thought it would happen to us. I certainly never thought my wife would sleep with someone else, and wish I'd have known the following. How could it have been stopped? The responsibility to not cheat clearly lies with each individual. There is no excuse to cheat. If there is a problem on a relationship, it should be raised, talked about, and ways to fix/improve should be identified. If I could give myself advice 12 months ago, it would be: 1. Don't assume because you are okay putting up with a non-perfect relationship/situation that your other half is also. 2. Don't misinterpret low confidence or low self-esteem for an inability to act in a completely inexplicable way that is complexly out of character. 3. Don't misinterpret love as enough to prevent a person from acting in a completely inexplicable/illogical way. Despite everything that's happened, I do believe my wife loves me, and even did at the time. I know many will disagree with this, but read the accounts of people that have cheated, and this is often a common theme. She was looking for something to cover a shortfall in our relationship. She wasn't looking to replace me and has no feelings for him. She's totally dropped him since I found out. 4. Make sure the other person knows they are a priority. We did things together, we went out, we had a good time together, but there were too many times when it wasn't clear where our priorities sat. 5. Buy a gift. We weren't used to buy each other gifts, mainly because we've been trying to clear some large debts, but also because I don't like wasting my money. Herein lies the problem. Paying £30+ for a bunch of already dead flowers still doesn't make sense to me, but she appreciates it so much. It is worth it, and had I known that £30 here and there might have saved the pain I've recently gone through, I'd have had no problem. Worth noting that the price isn't the point. More recently I cut a rose from our garden and gave that to her, and it had just as positive impact as the flowers, so I'm not necessarily advocating spending lots of money, it is the thought that counts. 6. Don't get into the bad habit of spending evenings apart. We found that after a tough day's work, I would relax in front of the TV/laptop, she would read a book. Too often we wouldn't do it together. If we were so tired, we should have gone to bed to recover so we were better able the following day, or found something to do together. Right now we play cards, play board games, make a fire in the garden, watch a TV program we're both into, have a few drinks and chat. 7. Be more intimate, without the sex. Noting the above bad habits, we would then get into bed and try to have sex, when we hadn't been intimate throughout the rest of the day. This would have been okay for me, but for her it wasn't. Since D-Day we've tried to touch more, cuddle more, kiss more, massage. I've also been more open about how I feel about her physically, to let her know I like her body. She is insecure about this. 8. Be open about feelings/be vulnerable. I mentioned earlier my wife's mental health challenges. She also often struggles to manage work commitments, and the children at times stress her out. For these reasons, I have always held back from burdening her with any of my problems, mainly because I didn't feel I have much to complain about, but I was actually denying her the opportunity to be responsible for me and take care of me. Listen to Jordan Peterson for a great perspective on the importance of responsibility and ownership. My advice would be, allow your partner to help you, allow them the ability to see that you are also vulnerable, even if it's things you may think aren't that serious/interesting. The other problem with not being open about feelings is that it can create the false illusion to your partner that you are invincible/nothing bothers you. This can strengthen their own insecurities as they struggle to deal with their issues. I never considered myself to be this way, but it's clear my closed nature, albeit well-intended, was having a negative effect. 9. Talk. Spend time talking. It doesn't really matter what it is about, but giving someone your undivided attention, even for a short time, is really important. 10. Be more open about desires/wants. My sex drive is a lot higher than my wife's. Ironic, right? I'd made my peace with this in our relationship and had been holding back my desires so I didn't add pressure to her. She got upset when feeling like she wasn't satisfying me. This led to me holding back, her then thinking I didn't want her, another negative spiral to avoid. Point 7 about helps here. 11. Put the phone down. It's destructive, it's distracting. I've been well aware for a long time that phones and various apps are designed to keep you hooked. The infinite scroll is a terrible function for humans, and that it frustrates my significant other when I was on there, mostly talking rubbish to friends. I muted a few WhatsApp groups, to reduce the distractions, and have tried to leave my phone upstairs from time to time to reduce my inclination to check what's changed on the news app every 15 minutes. 12. If you find yourself suspecting a partner of cheating. A. You'll need to piece enough of the story/timeline together to be able to question. The best advice I can give is not to tell them what you know. You have to hold things back to demonstrate that you do know something when they stop releasing information. It's likely to be a very slow and laborious process. In my case, it was clear she wanted to release as little information as possible and hide the real truth. Aim to create a timeline. As events drop in, it will become clear if the story makes sense. Have the timeline clear in your head, as best you can, write it down and have it with you if needed when you confront. Take notes on it during the discussion. This allows you to jump between events and dates quickly, and revisit what was said, which will make it easier to pick holes in lies. Unless the individual is particularly adept at lying, they will make mistakes, and if you've recorded it, it'll be clear. B. Don't let them use the excuse, "It's so freaking ago I don't remember." My wife was saying this when I questioned her about how many times they'd slept together and how many times they'd met, and what happened at each time, etc. These are things you remember. C. You want to keep them on your side when you're confronting. You don't want an argument. This will cause them to shut down. I actually tried to employ tactics I'd seen during police interviews, various Netflix documentaries, where the questioning goes along the line of, "I know you did something wrong, I know you regret it, but to move forward I have to hear it from you." Or, "I can see how it could happen. You had the perfect opportunity, a few drinks, away in a hotel, I get it, it doesn't make you a bad person. I know this is eating you up, you'll feel better if you hermit off your chest, and I know anyway, so it's not going to change anything if you tell me," etc. You have to convince them to want to tell you. Anger or direct accusations won't help here. D. None of this is enjoyable/fun in the slightest, so prepare for a horrible conversation where your worst nightmares come true. Question/request for help. I'm trying to do what I can to get through this and believe we will survive. I don't think I'm ever going to be okay, but I am happy that I didn't storm out or take any irreparable action, telling friends, walking out, revenge cheating, etc., although I do consider all three to varying degrees depending on my mood. One aspect I haven't dealt with is the AP and his spouse. I am considering whether I should tell her. I feel that if this was the other way around, I would have wanted her to contact me and tell me. They have 2 young children and I don't want to do anything that might affect them, but I don't like that he is getting away with this with no consequences and his poor partner/spouse is completely ignorant, as far as I'm aware. So that's my question. Should I tell the AP's spouse? Also, how should I do this? I know where they live, so could just drive by one day. Thanks to anyone that got to the end of this novel. I hope some was of use to you. If you've been through something similar and are able to offer advice, I'd appreciate it.